I feel so well prepared and cared for delivering this message. And what I mean by that is that we have engaged in beloved community, in some spiritual practices that have now just simply lifted me and buoyed me to the place to bring today's message. And so I just want to say thank you and start off by being in this attitude of gratitude for everything that has been set up so that as community, we have this opportunity to get delivered to us right there in your home, in your space, a message that is transformational, that we have an opportunity to listen to one another and be together so that we're transformed. And that there are so many hands that have come together to be able to do that. I just want to take a moment to be grateful for that. To be grateful for the spiritual practices that also set us up to succeed. The technology that sets us up to succeed. And I'm being given to do that because I've missed being here with Downey Center for Spiritual Living since I've been gone for a couple of weeks. But then to just really be in the theme for today's talk from an attitude of gratitude, from an attitude of thanksgiving, from this place of recognizing and knowing that we are actually set up for success, and now it is incumbent upon each of us to utilize that, to take advantage of that. Not from a place of like, I'm getting over, so I'm going to take advantage of, but to utilize what has been given, what has already been given, so that as we use it, that we allow it to use us to transform humanity. We'll take a look at the theme for the month that Reverend Kevin so beautifully set up for us last week. You know, in 2021, we're still looking at timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. And October is going further together, which is a real sense of community, going further together. And today's talk title is Share the Dream. And it comes from Reverend Karen out of Edmonton, Canada. And she shared the outline in which I am able to glean a few things and then incorporate it specifically for Downey Center for Spiritual Living and for the community that watches on. And as I think about that, we're reminded of this quote by Paulo Coelho. It says, "There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure." There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. And as was probably mentioned last week, I'm reminded this week as well, as we share the dream, I'm reminded of the African proverb that says, "Alone I go faster, together we go further." And as we look at that theme of going further together, and as we look at sharing the dream, the question that came up for me, and I had to write it down, was, what if you were personally responsible for the conditions of the world today? What if you were personally responsible for the world around you today? What must you be thinking? What must you be dreaming and visioning? What must you be being and doing if you were responsible for the world around you today. Now that word if is a big, big word in just this little 2 letters, if. Because I asked, what if you were responsible? And in our philosophy, in our teaching, the truth is that I am responsible. You are responsible for the world around you. You are responsible. I am responsible for the condition of my world, for the happenings of my world. And so it's interesting to take if out of that question and to take a moment to then kind of own the responsibility or to disown the responsibility and say, oh no, I'm not responsible. I'm not responsible for my world. Someone else is responsible for my world. And if we have that little bit of a, ouch, you know, did I cause this or that or the other thing? This is not a shame or blame game as much as it is an awareness building opportunity where we have this chance to recognize that as I think, as I believe, it is done unto me. And when we begin to quote unquote share the dream, what is the dream that we're sharing? At Centers for Spiritual Living, we have a vision, a mission, and a purpose, and our and that sounds something like we see a world that works for everyone. And what we do is we provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation as we awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And so it is to that I'm speaking to, and that I'm speaking from this place of awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence, awakening humanity by using the spiritual tools that we talked about and that we've been practicing already, awakening ourselves to this idea and this belief that the only way that we fail is by not even trying. And the only ways that we don't live our dreams is because we have this idea or this belief that we can fail. And yet what is obvious and what is there at our foot, on the plate, on the table before us, is everything necessary to live our best life. So what are you dreaming about? What is your vision? I mean, and here's the thing is that, yes, like in all spiritual communities, we have folks who have been on this particular planet a very short time, and some who have been on this particular planet for many, many decades. And some of us might be thinking, hey, I'm too young or I'm too old for this message, or dreams are for kids. Or, you know, I learned not to believe in dreams based on the family drama, based on the conditions of the world, based on everything that's been happening and everything that happened to me. And yes, I tried this manifestation thing. I tried creating and co-creating, and I'm just tired. I want to throw my hands up in the air and just say, hey, I don't care. I know that, you know, coming still through this time of COVID, and as we are emerging, coming through depression and fear, coming through anxiety, coming through addiction, coming through war, coming through all of the things that we've witnessed over the last couple of years, that many of us may be disillusioned. But I'm here to encourage you and to encourage us, and even for me to be reminded by hearing this message myself is that we have an opportunity, beloved, to actually create a world that we crave, to actually live the life of God in human form fully. And that is, by sharing the dream. And what is the dream? Well, I'm I'm a little bit old school sometimes because I bring this up often, and now it's something that I say all the time, which I said last week in Las Vegas when I was speaking with the Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living. And it's just like, stop sitting around watching television and start sitting around and tell a vision. And tell a vision. Tell that dream. What is that for you? What is it that at 90 or 91 or 50 or 51 or 40 or 30, what is still your vision? What is that dream? What is that one thing that you can experience within your consciousness, within your body and soul, within your experience? What is that? It's interesting because I took the word dream. I was trying to come up with this acronym for dream. And it's still something in the works, but I'll tell you what it came up with. The DREAM, right? Direct revelation enters all magnificently. Direct revelation enters all magnificently. And actually, I'm going to change enters, because enters feels like separation. That's why this is a work in progress. Direct revelation emerges in all magnificently. And everyone, Ernest Holmes says that everyone is a revealer of truth. Each of us. The idea that when I am in spiritual practice, and when I'm in the 3 S's, right? I talk about the 3 S's on a spiritual remedy on Monday mornings. And the 3 S's is, slow down. To slow down. And we've been forced to slow down. But even now, as we're emerging and things are happening, we're forgetting to slow down. Slow down. Be still. Be silent. And to tap into that still small voice, that God voice, that consciousness that directly reveals, that direct revelation emerges from all of us magnificently. There is not a person alive who does not have this living spirit right where they are. Living spirit is everywhere. All-knowing, everywhere present, all-powerful. It is right where I am. It is right where you are. And instead of allowing the world of effects to dictate what our dreams and hopes are, instead of going through a magazine and being like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, what if, in fact, each of us were to simply slow down, be still, be silent, and ask that indwelling power and presence to reveal to us in a language that we understand, that vision, that dream. And we began to share that. The vision, the dream for Centers for Spiritual Living is a world that works for all. And the way that is then broken down is that we see a world where people are fed, where people are housed, where there are no borders, and by no borders meaning that we're not judging one another, that we're helping one another. Humanity is helping one another, that we have like the scripture says that we have turned our weapons into plowshares, that we use weapons to actually cultivate and build one another up and not tear one another down. You know, sometimes it feels really silly to talk about these dreams, this vision of peace on earth. And yet, isn't it what we want? Isn't it what we're living for and striving for? Isn't it what we're calling forth? Isn't that really the dream? Where we get to experience our wholeness, where we get to experience the divinity of all life. Ernest Holmes says, the tree is not a person. All it does is to depend on nature. All it knows is to grow. So it never short circuits the divine energy that gives it life. The tree is not a person. All it does is to depend on nature. All it knows is to grow. So it never short circuits the divine energy that gives it life. Sometimes I dream of being a tree. And really, when I dream of being a tree, what I'm really meaning by that is there's something within me that yearns to just surrender this idea of separation. That there's something within me that just simply yearns to know beyond the shadow of a doubt the truth of who I really am, to depend upon love, to depend upon life, to depend upon Holy Spirit, living spirit, infinite intelligence, to depend upon prana, to depend upon source, to depend upon the beloved, to depend upon creative intelligence. But dang, sometimes it gets a little bit challenging, because in my human experience, which is such a gift, I want to run the show. And what I do when I want to run the show is I short circuit the divine infinite intelligence that is living in, through, and as me. And I think that I know better. And when I could just be this tree and not necessarily have the power to not short circuit, yeah, you get where I'm coming from. To be able to sit down, slow down, be still, be silent. To be able to really be in the flow. I'm always reminded of Daniel Nahmad's song where he says, when we're rowing our boat, if we take the oars and simply put them in our boat doesn't sink. It just goes with the flow. I like it when I'm in flow. When I'm in flow, I'll tell you something. When I'm in flow, life is easy. I don't need life to be hard. Life is easy. Conversations flow. There's love that is shared between all of life. There's this compassion. There's this, let's help one another out. Let me know what it is that you need so that if I have it, you got it. We can provide it for one another through communication, through effective communication, right? But we short circuit that divine infinite intelligence that is right where we are. That circuit is right where we are. And to the degree in which I remain in spiritual practice, I was talking with a client the other day, and I was reminded of one of my early acronyms and things that I would do to remember some of the very, very important spiritual practices that I participate in. And I'm reminded that, in telling her and in having these conversations that, when I need direction, I can use a map, MAP. And that stands for meditation, affirmation, and prayer, right? Or when I'm stuck, you remember back in the day, when before frying pans had the Teflon on it, you would spray that non-stick. It was called Pam. And you would spray that on so your eggs wouldn't stick, right? So when I'm stuck, I need the non-stick. So I use Pam, prayer, affirmation, meditation, same three, right? And, when I am living my best life, when I'm living my life like it's golden and I'm amped, AMP, amp, my life is amplified, AMP, affirmation, meditation, prayer. Again, those three things that when I need direction, it's my map. When I'm stuck, it's Pam. When I want to live an amplified life, when I want to feel the fullness of life, I'm reminded that these are three easy spiritual practices that I depend upon and can depend upon to recognize my oneness. That idea of separation, that I'm separate from my good, that I'm separate from my God, that I'm separate from you, those things fall by the wayside when I'm in the practice of MAP, of PAM, or AMP. That when I am in my spiritual practice and as a result of my spiritual practice and doing it over and over and over again, that I'm reminded that it's about sharing the dream, that just when it happens for one, it happens for all. I was reminded of that years ago by my friend Ananda Edmonds, and she said, when it happens for one, it happens for all. There's no individual good. That when I'm lifted up, we're all lifted up. And that we are all absolutely so set up for success. It is laid there, right at our feet. And that's when that saying, you can lead a horse to water, not calling us horse, but if I'm a horse, I'm a thoroughbred. What kind of horse are you? Right? We can lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink. Here we are, beloveds. The spiritual table is set. It is set. We have the buffet of spiritual practices, daily and weekly spiritual practices to partake of. Because not what if we were personally responsible for the world around us, but you are responsible for the world around you. I am responsible for the world around me. And as the responsible party, then it is incumbent and so important for us to pick up the spiritual tools that are laid at our feet. It is so important to partake of the feast of spiritual practices that remind us of the truth of who we are, so that we share the dream, that we share the vision, that we sit around and tell a vision. For me, the vision of the Downey Center for Spiritual Living and the dream that I have for our next 50 years is one where, as beloved community, we are growing together. In other words, we're going further together because we're together. Alone, I can go fast, but together we go further. And that together, whether it's virtually, whether it's a hybrid, in person or virtually, whether it's that we're attracting global leaders not followers, that we're attracting other global leaders, that we're awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence, that together we awaken, that we're traveling together. When it means that we're traveling together, no one is left behind. It means gently giving one another feedback. It means using those minute miracles. It means utilizing our practitioners and our ministers. It means signing up for the classes. It means sacred service. It means financially contributing to the spiritual community so that we continue to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. These spiritual practices of our prayer, our meditation, our sacred service, our tithes and offerings, all of this sets us up to not only television, to not only share the dream, but to actually have that dream come true. So many people that I talk to, especially those who are followers of this philosophy, leaders of this philosophy, those who are taking this philosophy that is laid at their feet and utilizing it, easily share, I'm living the dream. I didn't know this was possible before. People on our leadership council who can easily rattle off the benefits that they have enjoyed, things that were a dream. Folks in our community, our practitioners, realizing the dream, living the dream of studying and utilizing these spiritual principles and these spiritual practices and become practitioners, become ministers. Our members of our community whose lives have been transformed as a result of incorporating these simple tools and practices. They're not just for what we have achieved already, beloveds. It's like the commercial that says, but wait, there's more. And wait, there is more. We don't stop dreaming just because we've achieved that dream and because we're living that particular dream. It is time now to tell a vision and to dream even bigger and better and to not stay stuck in mediocrity. Are you happy right now where you are? Some of us are. And wait, there's more. There's more. And so as we go further together, beloved, it is my dream that we awaken, and that through our awakening, we're also participating in awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Humanity, all of us, each of us. I want to simply share one more Ernest Holmes quote. He says, things exist in the universal mind as ideas. Ideas take form and become things in the concrete or the visible world. Thoughts call things forth from the universal into expression. Begin to share these ideas, these dreams, these visions. Do not be afraid. Everything has been laid at our feet. Everything has been laid at our feet. Remind yourself of this. My dreams are the stuff of spirit itself. Yes, it says stuff. My dreams are the stuff of spirit itself. My dreams are just nothing. No, my dreams are the stuff of spirit itself. And I'm able to tap into those dreams. Not just the ones, not just the visions and the dreams that I have in my sleep state. The dreams in my sleep state are visions of infinite possibility. even in my waking state, the dreams, the visions, that divine upload, download that emerges from within me because of spiritual practice. We recognize that our dreams are the stuff of spirit itself. In other words, direct revelation emerges in all magnificently. Let's go into a prayer. How grateful I am in this moment. Just to be able to pray, to be able to recognize the one power, the one presence, the one life that has created everything out of itself. To recognize that this power and presence is love, is joy, is peace, it's abundance, it is wholeness, it is eternal. And to recognize that it manifests itself in, through, and as all things. Therefore, my life is it. My life is spirit. My life is God. My life is the unique and unrepeatable way that God shows up in human form. And as I know that this is my truth, I know that this is the truth for each and every one, that God is uniquely made manifest in, through, and as all forms. And so in this moment, if there's anything within me that is short-circuiting my direct connect, my direct connection with this infinite intelligence, I now remove it consciously. And I consciously just simply allow this oneness, knowing that I am never separated from Source, that Source is living me right now. And so I dare to dream, I dare to vision, I dare to participate in creating the world around me. I dare right now to allow love to lead the way, peace and joy and abundance to lead the way. I simply now allow that which is the truth of God and the truth of me to reign free. And that might come from, that the way that I look upon the world is from the eyes of spirit, the eyes of love, the eyes of joy and peace, the eyes of oneness and wholeness and prosperity and abundance. I simply speak the word now for anyone experiencing anything unlike the fullness of God, simply calling forth a pulling out and a moving away of anything that is short-circuiting that fullness, because only the fullness exists. And so I give thanks. I give thanks that now, from this moment forward, that we get to sit around in television, that we get to share the dream, that we get to live the dream, and that we get to continue to dream bigger. That we don't settle for mediocrity, but that we recognize the greatness and the fullness of who we are. So for this and so much more, I give thanks. I release my word now into the experience and into the activity of the law, knowing that it makes it manifest and that it makes it so. I am no longer afraid. I say yes to this dream. I say yes to life. I say yes to love. I say yes to a world that works for everyone. I say yes to awakening humanity to a spiritual magnificence. I say yes to the transformation. I say yes to the idea that we're separate from God, that it now is eliminated from our awareness and consciousness, and that we live from the oneness and the wholeness. For this and so much more, I give thanks. I let it be so. And so it is, and now it is. Go forth, beloveds, and dream the dream, television, and live life prosperous from this place of oneness, from this place of wholeness, from this place of peace, and from this place of power. You are loved. You are so loved.